Welcome back to Courtroom Conversations here on the Classic Courtroom YouTube channel. I'm Dylan Brooks Hamilton.
And I'm Susan Kelly Ashford.
And we are ready for another deep dive into a fascinating legal case.
Absolutely.
Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of law.
Yes.
Today we're going to be talking about a case that really shook up the amusement park industry. The story of Tyree Sampson and the Orlando Free Fall.
It's a tragic story. And it really makes you think about safety regulations and accountability in a very serious way.
So Tyree Sampson was 14 years old. He was visiting Orlando for spring break.
Right.
And he tragically lost his life on the Orlando Free Fall ride at Icon Park. This ride is a massive 430-foot drop, and it had a fatal design flaw. It didn't have any seatbelts.
Oh, wow.
It only had a shoulder harness system.
So that's really what makes this case interesting, because most drop rides of this type do have seatbelts. It's like a standard safety feature.
Right.
And in Tyree's case, the harness wasn't able to secure him properly because of his size. So when the ride braked, he was ejected from his seat, and he fell to his death.
It's just heartbreaking.
It is.
And what's even more disturbing is that the lawsuit revealed adding seatbelts would have only cost them $660.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
I know.
So the lawsuit targeted both Icon Park, the ride operator, and Funtime, the manufacturer. Icon Park settled with the family for an undisclosed amount, but Funtime decided not to defend itself in court.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that led to what's called a default judgment, which means the court ruled in favor of the plaintiff, because the defendant basically just didn't show up.
Wow. So the jury awarded a massive $310 million in damages to Tyree's parents. That's $155 million to each parent.
Yeah, it's a historic verdict. In terms of the amount, it shows that the jury really wanted to compensate Tyree's parents for their loss. And it sends a very strong message about how serious the negligence was in this case.
But is it really justice? I mean, no amount of money can bring back their son.
That's a really good question. And it brings up a really complex question about what justice really means. I mean, yes, financial compensation is important in our legal system, but it can never really address the emotional and psychological toll of a loss like this.
Absolutely. And then there's the issue of actually collecting the damages. Funtime is an Austrian company, so how does that even work?
Right. Well, that adds another layer of complexity. Tyree's family is going to have to deal with international law to enforce the judgment and actually collect the money. They'll need to get an order from an Austrian court, which can take a long time and cost a lot of money.
So stepping back, what does this case mean for the amusement park industry as a whole?
Well, for one thing, it really highlights how important it is to have strong safety standards and good oversight. It makes you wonder if our current regulations are good enough, or if we need to do more to prevent tragedies like this from happening again.
Yeah, this isn't just about seatbelts. This is about creating a culture of safety throughout the entire industry.
You're absolutely right. This case also shows what can happen when companies try to save money by cutting corners on safety, even when it seems like a small amount, like $660 in this case, ended up costing Funtime $310 million. Not to mention the cost of a young life.
It's tragic on so many levels. It really makes you think, what can we do as individuals and as a society to push for higher safety standards in the amusement park industry?
That's the big question, isn't it? We need to hold ride operators and manufacturers accountable, push for stricter regulations, and maybe even think about how much risk we're willing to accept when we go on these thrill rides.
That's a great point, something for all of us to think about. Thanks for joining us today, Susan.
It was my pleasure.
And to all of you watching, what are your thoughts on this case? Share them in the comments below. And be sure to subscribe to Classic Courtroom.